Hi, John. Nice to have you here. Why don't you just introduce yourself and let us know why you're running for office?
Well, Amy, John Schwalm, and I'm running for office because I'd served once before. I was unanimously selected to fulfill the position that Carol Skolma had, and I loved it. I think I was very productive at it. When I had this position, I was involved in the ice arena, and the ice arena at that particular time was struggling. And we were able to take a $135,000 deficit. We did a SWOT analysis on the situation out there, and by the time we got done, we were $5,000 in the black. And I've had a number of those incidences, being on the finance committee, being on the utilities committee, where we helped negotiate a contract with Grandville, that I feel that I can take my expertise. And I've been a high school teacher for 35 years, but I've been a university professor and a businessman now for 20 years in college. And I believe in management, finance, entrepreneurism. I can be an asset for Georgetown Township.
Great, great. What do you see as the key issue that's facing Georgetown Township at this point?
Well, I think our big concerns in Georgetown Township, of course, is the empty buildings, the economy, the entrance as you come into Georgetown Township, and of course now that our board is taking and has purchased many of those buildings and is tearing them down. When I served on the board, that was one of the areas that I was involved in, that we were looking at that time as far as what properties could possibly be purchased. But my concern is, yes, we need to improve that downtown area, but do we buy the properties and then flip them for commercial, which is the direction I think we should be going? Or do we take and hold that property, and there's been some talk about a possible park down there, maybe a senior center, maybe a library. I'm concerned that that's a high traffic area. It's a great place for a core area, and I really believe what that should be is an area for businesses to thrive as people enter our community. But I'm worried about the amount of time we're spending and the loss that we're having in our tax base. Should our township be landlords? And I'm also concerned that many are not talking about this, that we've been debt-free now for decades. We are in an enviable position compared to other communities. Mm-hmm. And now we're making major purchases, we're looking at a new direction, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, but we have to be good stewards of the funds that we have right now. Okay. And with the tax base, property values going down by about 1/3, often there's a delay of a couple of years before, when we recover, that the township feels that recovery. Are we setting ourselves up for higher taxes? I think it's almost inevitable, and that scares me. And we have to be very, very careful at this particular time what we do. Certainly we want to encourage business.
Right. What expertise do you particularly bring to the table to resolve issues like property ownership in Georgetown Township?
I think people skills are a strength that I have. I was a businessman for years, did that for over 20 years. I understand business, and I was successful at it. As an educator, I'm on many committees, worked with many, many groups in bringing them together. And as a university professor, I work with businesses. I have many leaders of different businesses will take classes with me, mm-hmm. and it's been an honor. I understand that well. And I believe that I can bring people together, we can focus on our problems, and that good things happen when people take and they brainstorm. I look down, like right now at the downtown area, we have some wonderful people in this area, like Al Ritzma lives here, Rick Voorhees, and then you got Randy Zimmerman. And this is unusual that Randy runs the mall. And this is a major challenge for us we don't talk about much in Georgetown Township, that you got a mall that 20 million visitors go to that mall per year. And that's why you're seeing a lot of our companies, our businesses here, like Target, which was announced the last couple days. Right. It's very desirable to go over there. Randy was directly involved in many of those land purchases. He's an expert. We should have those type of experts working with our township board, people that have a passion for Georgetown Township, and say, okay, we've got this land that we've purchased. How can we use it effectively, put up an office building similar to what Rietberg has done for Grandville. Grandville is doing a wonderful job over there with their streetscape. They're trying to improve that core area. But you have some pillars behind the scenes that are helping this economic move to take place. We need that expertise. I believe we need to have a committee of business people that sit down with a board and look at the situation and say, what can we do? Even if it's just brainstorming. But we certainly shouldn't sit on this property, because before, when we hit about 2015, we were in financial trouble. And that was before all these purchases had taken place. I'm worried about next year where we're going to stand. And with the board, they have the power to double our taxes without a vote of the people. This is a tremendous responsibility that most people don't realize that they have. Are we going to continue to buy land? Are we going to build a library, build a senior center without a vote of the people? Last year, I think there was 33 municipalities that voted on whether or not to have a senior center. All of them passed. I am sure it would pass in Georgetown Township, but I think people should be asked, because with these expenditures, almost for sure you're going to have higher taxes, and people need to have the right to make a decision on that, rather than have a board say this is what's going to happen, or we're going to raise taxes without a vote of the people.
If you're elected, what would you do to help the business community in Georgetown Township? There's some regulations and burdens that kind of exist already in the township, and maybe some issues that need to be reviewed in order to make it easier, more business climate friendly.
Well, I think we're pretty business friendly right now. I know we've had an outreach to the community to try to get them involved in the decision-making process to a degree. It needs to be more. Cumbersome issues. This is very trivial, but if you ask people what upsets them about rules and regulations for Georgetown Township, it's the signs that are along the street, and particularly our enforcement. We have an excellent individual people speak highly of, but also people are not very happy with. I sometimes wonder if people skills need to enter in when it comes to property issues, as to when someone has a car or a trailer parked out in front of their place. But when I went door to door 2 years ago and ran for the board, this was a burning issue many people had. Mm-hmm. And it was more trivial, but it affected them more directly.
Right.
As far as regulations that we have, I think we're as open as every other community, and we would love to have them come in. You've just seen that recently with the change in the alcohol, being able to have a restaurant here in Grandville or in Georgetown that would be a full service restaurant. We didn't have that before. This board has moved in that direction. I think that's smart. But again, you've got a tremendous competition right across over in Grandville, where there are many, many restaurants, and there's not one in our area. Well, the bistro and so forth. But
right. We kind of got to wrap things up.
Yep.
Just to summarize, if you could give me a brief statement on why people should vote for you instead of your opponent.
Well, Pam and I have been here for over 30 years, raised our family. We have a passion. We've been very, very much involved in sports and church and virtually every organization that we can. I have a strong background. I've shown people what I can do in the past. I would be excited about this opportunity. For instance, for the downtown area, I'd like to approach that just like we did with the ice rink and do a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and get people together and get ideas together that we're all pulling in the same direction. I believe I have a strong background that can fulfill that, and good people skills to pull it off. As an instructor, I've had over 10,000 students in this area. Many of them live here, and many of them are my friends. And I would like to have the nicest environment we possibly can for them and my family and for all of us.